morning, Namibia and the world, and welcome to the Government Information Center. My name is Desire Kahiha, and I am your host for today. And today we're looking at developmental and empowerment policies in government procurement, public procurement. And in the studio, I have officials from the Ministry of Finance that are going to be answering a few of our questions and maybe just help us to dissect this public procurement for us. And with no further ado, I'd like to welcome Mr. Phineas Sundano. He is the Deputy Executive Director for Procurement, for the Procurement Policy Unit in the Ministry of Finance. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. How are you, Ms. Kaye?
We are blessed. Thank you very much. And along with him, we have Ms. Amalia Shikongo. She is the Deputy Director for Legal Support and Compliance as well from the Ministry of Finance. Good morning there, Ms. Shikongo.
Good morning, and thank you for having us.
Thank you for being here. I think when it comes to procurement, it's one of those things, especially in public procurement, it's one of those areas really where a lot of people have questions, and sometimes there are a lot of bones of contention and so on. So it is our pleasure to have officials that are here to be able to help us answer some of those questions. Trying to answer them all might take us forever, but you know, we would also be amiss if we don't at least try to take a bite of this elephant. I start with you, Mr. Sundano, and we would like to find out from you, what are the developmental and empowerment policies of government in public procurement?
Thank you very much. The advent of the Public Procurement Act number 15 of 2015 has three main objectives that it wants to achieve in terms of public procurement. The first one are those we refer to as your integrity, accountability, and transparency. The third one is the harmonization of the different procuring entities in the Republic of Namibia, and to bring them into one legal framework, which is a public procurement. Today, I'm going to talk to you, or we are going to talk to you about the third one, and that is the policies and governmental objective in public procurement in terms of preferences. Now, the preferences or the objective in terms of industrialization and preference in public procurement are aimed at the following: is the creation of jobs for Namibian citizens, the strengthening of small and medium enterprises, those are your SMEs, and as well as to ensure that there's local entrepreneurial development and the advance of local content utilization in public procurement. So those are the drive or the objective of government in terms of public procurement. Thank you very much.
Okay. That is very, very clear. And I love the fact that within those three pillars, it actually included something that strongly spoke to the local person, the local manufacturer. And at this, we come to Ms. Shikongo, and there is something called the Code of Good Practice. And many of us would be really curious to find out, what is that when it comes to public procurement?
Thank you very much. The Code of Good Practice on Preferences, that's the full name. So what it is a set of rules that is developed and issued in terms of the public procurement. The aim is to guide the implementation of preferences or preferential treatment in public procurement by public entities. So it provides a standardized or uniform, framework for public entities to grant or to extend certain advantages to Namibian businesses in the bidding process or tendering process over international firms, for instance. So imagine government needs to procure, for instance, furnitures for schools, and maybe provide security services, or even just provide food for institutions like hospitals. So in the normal circumstances, government or the contract supposed to be awarded to the cheapest bidder.
Yeah.
However, now with the Code of Good Practice, it allows government to favor Namibian bidders or Namibian businesses over international businesses.
Okay.
So the idea really is to say when the contract is awarded to a Namibian business, more jobs will be created. There will be skills that will be built in the country. The local industries will grow. There is job creation. I mean, there is job creation. There is wealth distribution is more shared across the society, and there is improved inequality. So basically, the Code of Good Practice is, other than being a set of rules, it's also a policy instrument to support the developmental objectives of government.
Okay. But I stay with you now, Mr. Congo, and I think this is where we would like to get clarity when it comes to this code of good practice preference. I'm sure there are categories, pardon me, within this practice. What are those?
Yes, thank you very much. There are certain categories that are identified within the code, but perhaps before I go to the categories, it's important to just highlight some of the preferences that are covered by the Code of Good Practice on Preferences. One, there is a general reservation of certain procurement of certain goods, works and services for all Namibian businesses. Two, there is exclusive preferences for the identified categories. I'll talk to those just in a bit. And then there is national preferences. That is now preferences granted to, or price preferences granted to Namibian businesses when they are competing against, foreign or international bidders. Then the fourth one, which is a bit, different from the others, is the procurement of red meat or raw meat from north of the veterinary cordon fence. So now with the, coming back to the categories, there are about 7 categories that are specifically or intentionally, identified for empowerment or for industry, to promote industrialization policies or to redress the historical inequalities. So what are these categories? We have SMEs, we have manufacturers, we have women-owned businesses, youth-owned businesses, businesses owned by previously disadvantaged people. Then we have businesses that are, creating employment, and businesses that are promoting, environmental protection. So those are the categories. And in terms of benefiting, what the code is really saying is when public entities are procuring certain or goods that have been reserved, if you look at the Code of Good Practice, there's a list of annexures listing the goods, the services, and the works that has been reserved. So now, when public entities are procuring from those lists, and it's within a certain monetary value threshold, then public entities should actually just procure exclusively from these categories. And the thresholds are there. For instance, just to give an example, when you are procuring goods, the threshold is 10 million. So for instance, bottled water, for instance, is one of the products that is reserved. If you are a public entity and you are procuring bottled water, then and the value or the estimated value of that procurement is within 10 million, then the requirement is that it must be bought or sourced exclusively from those categories. However, it's the value is above the 10 million, then it means it must be procured from Namibian suppliers.
Okay. I'll come back to you, Mr. Congo, because we've got two questions or so that are coming from that. But I'd like to hear from Mr. Sindano. The ministry has issued a directive on the procurement of furniture from local suppliers. What is the intent there in relation to local suppliers?
Thank you very much. Often we have policies. But what we are emphasizing and what the government is emphasizing now is the fact that policies must meet implementation. As you have heard, that the Code of Good Practice is a policy, and it's there in black and white. However, what really is required is the implementation. Now, furniture is among the items listed in the Code of Good Practice that should be procured locally. And in so doing, on the 27th of January, the Minister of Finance issued a directive to ask all public entities that are going to procure furnitures to make sure that first and foremost they must procure those furnitures within Namibia, those furnitures that are manufactured in Namibia. This is in order to give effect to that policy and to ensure that the policy is now implementable and that those categories or those goods like the furniture are indeed procured so that we support the local industry so that they can be able to participate meaningfully in the procurement or in the public procurement as the objective of government in that sphere. So the directive that was issued on the 27th of January calls upon, among others, the Ministry of Education in terms of public schools and so forth, that they should procure their furnitures, those that are made or manufactured in Namibia. So that is really the aim and the content behind the directive that was issued for purposes of procuring furnitures. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah.
We speak to challenges, and we all know that how a person plans something on paper and so on, sometimes it doesn't run as smoothly when it comes to the phase of implementation. And this is where we would like to find out from you, Ms. Shikongo, what are the challenges that are faced in the implementation of the Code of Good Practice?
Thank you very much. As much as the Code of Good Practice, offers opportunities for local businesses, there are also challenges in its implementation. And I would like to divide the challenges in the categories, challenges that relate to public entity as with implementation, and the ones that relate to the businesses, the business community, or the bidders. So, with regard to public entities, what we have noted is that there's, first of all, there's limited understanding of the code in some areas. So that then affects their, implementation or application of the code as it's supposed to be. Then we have got an issue of limited funding for public entities, for instance. So it makes it difficult now for them to balance, value for money and competitive pricing with the, developmental objectives. So because of the limited funds, they will opt to, go for competitive, bidding, other than restricting it for the local businesses. So those are some of the. But then we have also noticed that there is also some kind of, resistance to change within the public entities when it comes to implementation. And then although this affects the bidders, there is also, delayed payment. Most of the times, public entity bidders, provide the services that is required or deliver the goods, but then it takes longer for their invoices to be honored. So that affects bidders as well, because at the end of the day, it affects their cash flow. So when it comes to the bidders or the suppliers or the business community, the challenges are sometimes there is no capacity, limited capacity to supply or to provide the services. That's why at the end of the day, if public entities find that after their market research there is not sufficient capacity within the local market. They will then have to go for, open advertised, which is not just for Namibian suppliers, but open for every bidder.
Yeah.
So, and then we also noticed that there is lack of awareness within the business community. So that is one of the challenges as well, because they do not know. Sometimes the bids are advertised that it's only for, those identified categories, but you find that, even those categories themselves, they are not participating. Yeah, but then there's also challenges for, for ourselves as regulators, policy unit, because then we need to do, compliance and monitoring of compliance, but because we find ourselves sometimes limited in terms of, personnel, we cannot carry out, the required monitoring nationwide. Yeah, so those are some of the
I think I would like to bring in the DED here, and hopefully it looks at how you are countering some of these challenges. And here, Mr. Sindano, we would like to find out what are the measures that are being put in place to try and address some of these challenges that are being faced at implementation phase.
Thank you very much. One of the measures is what we have currently now, that is information sharing. The dissemination and informing the public. It's one of the crucial aspects that can help in this aspect. The other, or the second aspect that I'll look at is the fact that we have training that we have, since the implementation of the Code of Good Practice, have rolled out to various public entities, just to train them so that they understand the application and how to give effect to that. But as Ms. Kongo has alluded to earlier on, we might have a limited number of the resources that we have. And thus, we are trying by all means to make sure that we educate. The second aspect is the fact that we do conduct the monitoring and the evaluation. For example, when the public entities are able to submit their annual procurement plans, we do an assessment there to see to it that among the procurement activities that they are going to undertake, what are those goods and services that falls under the Code of Good Practice, and then remind them to say, kindly take note that these goods or services are reserved for purposes of the preferences. We procure them as such. For example, we have seen with the 2026-2027 annual procurement submission that we have quite a high number of public entities, up to around 27 there too, who are going to procure uniforms in various forms. Now, if you look at the uniform itself, it's a procurement which can boost or support the tailoring industry. If we are able to only import the materials, then the design and the sewing can be done locally. We are going to speak to job creation. We are going to speak to upscaling of this industry. So we have around about, for all public entities, so far that we have analyzed, about 37 million is reserved for purposes of procuring uniform in various, be it the Ministry of Agriculture, be it the Ministry of Immigration and Safety and Security. All those are procuring uniforms. Their staff are uniform based. They use the uniform. If these entities can be able to give effect to the Code of Good Practice, that we look at those manufacturing or sewing industries, designing the art and creative industry for designing If they can do that, this is money that can trickle down into the economy and support the business activities. So those are some of the initiatives that we are looking at in order to address the issue of the fully implementation of the Code of Good Practice. As I have stated earlier, our aim is to ensure or to see that policies meet implementation.
Okay.
And that is what we really want to advocate, that it's time that policies meet implementation so that it can be felt on a man and a woman on the street. So same applies with the issue of the furnitures. We want to see that the carpentry industry are well supported so that they can also meaningfully participate into the mainstream of the economy. And that speaks to the aim and the objective of the government when they introduced the public procurement system. Thank you very much.
Very good. I think a person loves the idea of a local-centric approach to try and boost that growth of local manufacturing also, because the more we plow into it, the more they can expand these various industries. My question though now, Ms. Shukonga, I'd like to find out from you, maybe Mr. Sindano can assist. Quality check, because this is another problem that we have when some, not all, please, not all, it's just some of the issues that one has picked up over the years when it comes to trying to procure from local manufacturers. How do we then go about ensuring that quality is adhered to? Because there would be an increase in how much we're expected to pay for the service. But, history has kind of also cautioned us where we will pay for this, but the quality is not as good. How do we then solve that through this or during this process?
Thank you very much. That is a very important question because I think most people, when they hear that, public entities are giving preferences to local business, they probably think that you can just take any product there and government will be able to buy. If you look at the Code of Good Practice, it specifically mentioned that we are going to, grant this advantage, but we will not compromise on quality, on standards, and value for the money. Because as much as government is going to pay more, it must still pay more on, goods or services that meet the standard. So there is no compromise on quality. Businesses are still expected to meet the required standards for them to be able to supply to government.
Yeah. Thank you very much. As we round off, I would like to hear from you any last words that you'd like to share with our audience and viewers. Okay. Mr. Sindano.
Thank you very much. Just maybe on the last point, I think that will be the departing point, is to say it's really upon the business communities to also look out in various public entities for such procurements that are meant for purposes of the Code of Good Practice and participate there. And they should also take it into account that the purposes of the preference to the local supplier is really for them to upscale themselves and so that they can compete into the mainstream of the economy.
Yeah.
But they should not take it as a form of government handing out.
Yeah.
That's the quality aspect comes in, is that there will be value for expenditure, value for money. Whatever government is going to spend in terms of this, it must speak to the value, the content there too. So it really is just to urge the local business people, for those both providing goods, those providing services, that there is indeed the platform created through government policies in public procurement for them to participate in the mainstream of the economy. Okay. And I really want to thank you also for having availed this platform for us to share the information out there to the public. So please, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Ms. Shikongo.
Thank you very much. Just to add to what Mr. Sandana has said, the Code of Good Practice really presents an excellent opportunity for our local businesses to, participate meaningfully in the public procurement. Yeah. But really, its success depends on how ready the local businesses are to seize that opportunity. Yeah. Therefore, the enterprises, especially the women-owned, youth-owned, SMEs, manufacturers, should really position themselves to take an advantage of this opportunity and compete in government procurement so that they can be awarded contract. But they should also then invest in, quality, yeah, innovation, compliance, yeah, and their operational capacity. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, the objective is not really to create dependence on preferences. Yeah. We want to create resilient, competitive, and sustainable businesses that are able to compete with regional and global, firms out there, so that at least at the end, public procurement can be a powerful catalyst for, economic growth, job creation, and then, of course, prosperity for all Namibians. So the bidders or the business community should familiarize themselves with the Code of Good Practice. There's a lot of opportunities for them. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think the message here is government is trying to meet you halfway. It's up to you as the business person, an SME, a person who's manufacturing something, to educate yourself. And there are various platforms through which you can do so. And the Ministry of Finance, I'm very familiar of their assistance that they're always willing to render with regards to informing you, guiding you on how it is that you can go about to take advantage or grab some of these opportunities and utilize them to their fullest. The key message behind it is also the fact that do not compromise on your standards, because this might, cause you to lose an opportunity for growth. And at the end of the day, we are a small population, and these are some of the best ways that we can try and boost our economy by working together and utilizing these opportunities to just take us to greater heights as a nation. Thank you very much for my studio guests, and please, we will be expecting you back on the platform, because I think this is one of those areas that we need to thoroughly dissect to allow our people to be well informed so that they can, as I said earlier on, take advantage and not miss out just because of the misinformation or misunderstanding of a particular policy. Thank you very much for today.
Thank you. Yes.
From myself, Desire Kahia, along with my production crew here at Government Information Center, it is a goodbye, but please do remember to stay clicked on to our social media platforms as we bring you various happenings and events in the country, not just locally in Windhoek. We've got our regional offices as well that have their centers up and running, so please make sure that you don't miss out on any of those sessions. Bye-bye.